How to Create a Glitch Monologues Season 6 Episode 6. This is Episode 6 of How to Create a Glitch in the Matrix Monologues Season 6. In this episode we will be revisiting the topic in Episode 8 Season 2, namely, how the willing suspension of disbelief produces the fragmentation of the plates described in the complete series. To start at the beginning, I've talked a lot about direct ground and indirect ground as concepts. One of the things I neglected to explain is that although both are grounded by belief, one in a supposition, the other in a perception of another, that doesn't mean that it is impossible to exist in a reality with no such ground. In fact, at least initially, when you willingly suspend your disbelief in some substrate, such that your attention becomes invested in it and your impulses reactive to it, this is a state free of grounding. But it is an unstable state. It leads to fragmentation of your observations, and some subset of those observations becoming the new substrate of the willing suspension of disbelief. Unfortunately, that leaves the preceding substrate which became fragmented as now fully grounded, as indirect ground, and so on and so forth. The point of this discussion is to show that the natural process of investing your attention in any substrate, and your disbelief, is the fragmentation of that substrate and the progression of indirect ground. Likewise, the purpose of this discussion is as follows. The natural person believes in some form of objective reality. They presume that reality is static in some fundamental way. However, by suspending the disbelief, by believing in the hard and fast reality of their experience, they are, as set out above, fragmenting their reality and thereby contradicting the very presumptions they based their original observation on, rendering the objectivity of their original assertion meaningless. Thus, if you accept that objectivity exists, then what you are really saying is there is no truth, no meaning. In other words, it is only in the acceptance that reality is a mosaic, a patchwork, fluid, and subjective, in other words, a projection or simulation, that it is possible to accept that there exists any truth at all, to accept that there exists any meaning at all. For in the recognition of fragmentation as part and parcel of the exegesis of our consciousness, the 5 spatial plates and 4 plates of the mind, you become capable of distinguishing the various features of this reality and the architecture of it. That's the end of the podcast for today. If you enjoyed it, please like, comment and subscribe.